Yes, here on YouTube, Stock Car Facts has hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, and we owe it all to you folks. Thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your support. We know it's a little difficult without just NASCAR-only content, because we also cover the USAC Stock Car Series, IMCA, ASA, those old series that you just don't see anymore. But we're going to continue to keep doing that, and we ask that you keep coming back and enjoying our content. Thank you so much. There are just certain people that impact our lives, especially us in the media. There's just something about them. Maybe it's the way they conduct themselves, the way they race, the way they treat their family, the way they interact with others, their integrity, respect, you name it. And the more you watch these people, the more you want to know what makes them tick. So when the opportunity arose to interview this individual, we jumped at it so fast, you'd think we were part of the United States track and field team. This is part 4 of our interview with motorsports icon Dave Marcis. We've got some stories. He'll tell you about Hyde, the 1982 NASCAR Richmond race, and, well, have a listen for yourself. 1982 at Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway, February. That, I'm sure, was a great moment for you in that, okay, let's face it. You're the car owner. You're the driver. You're the crew chief for the most part. So not only are you, and motor builder a lot of times, you're driving the car to the track and the hauler. You're doing it all. So you're driving and working out pit strategy in your head. And I had just watched that race on the way here, the end of it. And Joe Ruttman was out front and whacked the wall. You're paying attention to that, I'm sure. I think you had just got lapped, I believe.
Well, the deal is, we qualified good. We were competitive. We were, keeping our own. We weren't no lap down.
And that Malibu.
And that was in the Malibu. And when Ruttman passed me, had he made it across the start-finish line, I would have been a lap down.
Oh, okay.
But when he passed me in the third turn, and he spun out, I don't know if he lost the right rear tire or what. We didn't touch. Mm-hmm. But he spun out, and when he spun out, he did not cross the start-finish line. I crossed the start-finish line, so that he never put me down a lap. I never got a lap down. And then everybody else dove in the pits. And so when they dove in the pits, I stayed on the racetrack and came back around. And Dale Inman realized what was happening and only put right side tires on and tried to send Richard out to beat the pace car, but they didn't make it. So Richard ended up right behind me on the racetrack. But I was leading the race.
And of course everybody's saying, no, Dave's this, and it's politics, we did this, and but everybody but there wasn't talk of you spinning Ruttman out, was there? I don't recall that. Was there talk of you getting into Ruttman? Because at the time I don't remember that.
No, we never touched.
Okay.
He just, I don't know if he lost the right rear tire or he just lost it, just spun it out.
So, and you got your 5th and unfortunately final win, but you'd also, I spoke to Velvet Stacy, Jim's daughter. We're communicating all the time. I'm going to have her on the show one of these days.
Yeah, his ad was on the race car at Richmond.
You're the only guy, you're the first guy to win with Stacy on the car. Because there's always something else, Pocahontas or whatever.
Yep.
And you were the first. Tim Richmond won later in the year.
Yep.
But you were the first. And he had his name on what, I believe?
5 cars.
But I think at one time he even had it on 7 in the 500, I believe.
Well,
you're
probably right. I think at that time, I know Tim Richmond, that was the house car, and the BB car from up in Connecticut.
Dick Beebe, or Jack Beebe, yep.
Jack Beebe,
with Ron Bouchard.
Ron Bouchard was driving it, yeah.
Who wasn't driving him? Jeez.
Yeah, right. So.
Did you think at the time, he's going to sponsor me? He's going to sponsor Billy. He's going to sponsor Jack. He's going to sponsor Junie.
Yeah, it was on Junie's car. Yeah.
Did you think? Wait a minute. Is this going to work?
Did you have that feeling like, as long as the checks come, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I guess he just wanted his name in that many cars, and how long is it going to last? This, that, but I ended up losing that sponsorship.
Yes, you did.
Because of the race at Pocono. Bobby Allison ran out of gas. He was racing hard with Tim Richmond all day. I stopped and pushed Bobby Allison back to the garage. The caution flag was out. Probably if I wouldn't have, maybe somebody else would. I don't know. But anyhow, Bobby ended up winning the race at Pocono. And
I think Richmond finished second, didn't he?
Yeah, I think. And Jim Stacy took the ad off of my race car.
Because of that?
Yes. Because I pushed Bobby Allison back to the garage.
Do you think that was just an excuse if he was starting to... Because he was starting to run into a little bit of financial trouble. You think that was an excuse?
I don't know.
It seems quite childish to me. In a way. I don't know if I should use the word childish, but...
Jack Beebe said something one time, and maybe Junie did, that they didn't get paid for all their races, and so we kind of made a joke out of it that I lost the sponsorship, but I got paid.
Well, there you go. Right. So now you're back to piecemealing sponsors together. You go into 83, like I had said. I remember the throttles on the side of the car in Michigan and whatnot. And then end 83 comes around, and the huge news that Richard's going to leave Petty Enterprises. And the rumor was he's going to RahMoc. Well, that didn't happen. Dave Marcis ends up at RahMoc.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that deal was it came up in kind of a hurry, and I don't really know what got all that going, but...
I heard they were this close to announcing Richard as the driver.
Yeah, I was aware of that, and but anyhow, but then I just drove that car that one year. I think we put Mike Alexander in my car.
Yes,
quite
you did.
A few races.
And that old Cutlass.
Yeah, that was in the Oldsmobile.
Action Vans, I think. I think that was Mike's sponsor, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he had a sponsor. Yeah.
And he run decent for you, I believe.
Yeah.
And you guys run good too. You know, I'm surprised you didn't win though. That was a winning car.
Yeah, we should have. We had a couple good shots at some races, but something would always happen, you know. But yeah, the RahMoc team was a good competitive team. Bob Ray Hilly and Butch Mock, and yeah.
You had, but you were sponsorless though. Yeah, I think you had a couple
Coke
here and there. That
always hurts. I mean.
And I'm surprised they kept going for that year though.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say 20, maybe 25, 28 races. There was nothing on the car, just Petty Blue.
Right.
You know, and 75, and you guys were competitive.
Yeah.
So, 85, you're back to your own. What happened with the RahMoc stuff?
I don't really know. I really don't know. I seen Butch Mock the other day at Darlington.
Okay.
Yeah, he always comes up and talks to me and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Then 86, the Helen Ray special.
Yeah.
You were. I just saw Steve Barkdahl on the spotter stand at Talladega a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's still a Barkdahl somewhere, but I didn't know much about Helen Ray.
Well, I didn't either, and they were wanting to get into racing. I think Phil Barkdahl and Phil's brother was married to Helen Ray's daughter.
Okay.
So his brother, I think, is the one maybe that put the sponsorship together, and Keith Kanak from Iowa, who had a racing paper and covered all the IMCA stuff in that.
Okay.
I can't remember what, I think it was called Hawkeye News?
Hawkeye News. Yep.
Yeah, and he got in touch with me, and they helped me out with my car if I took care of a car with our team and fielded it for Phil to run selected events. And so we made that deal, and I done that. And that was a good deal for me, and it helped us stay in business, and we took care of a car for Phil, and Helen Ray sponsored our team. So,
what was Helen Ray's business? What was it?
Well, her and her husband were involved in Smitty's stores, I think. California, Arizona. They were big department stores. They were groceries, hardware, jewelry, everything. They were huge stores. They were called Smitty's.
And they didn't put Smitty's on the car, huh?
No,
Put her name on the car.
they ended up getting divorced.
Oh.
And
I gotcha.
And so whatever happened, then Helen Ray got her share of the businesses or whatever, and her husband, they split ways. And Phil Bartol and them got Helen interested in racing, and so she got involved in the sport. They basically to sponsor Phil's car, but they needed somebody to look after it and take care of it. And I think they tried some on their own, and they didn't really have the NASCAR experience and stuff. And Keith Knack was more involved in IMCA type stuff and that. So they needed somebody with NASCAR experience, and it was a great deal for me to help them out because it helped me because she helped sponsor my car.
Yeah. Well, in '88, then you went to probably what fans remember their first recollection of Dave Marcis. Then you had the Lifebuoy sponsorship for about 3 years.
Yep.
And then from there, I believe it was from Lifebuoy, it was Mike Miller and his fruit market.
Yep.
And
Mike Miller's Big Apple Market in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. So, and the Lifebuoy deal, Artie Ararney came about that beginning of that sponsorship with Lifebuoy, and Artie had a firm in Atlanta that helped teams get sponsors and things.
Okay.
So, again there we almost won a race, the Firecracker 400 in Daytona. We had that race won. I actually was drafting on Bobby Allison. I could have passed him, but I thought, why? The race was damn near over. All I lapped was just past Bobby, and he'd have been down a lap. I chose to sit there and draft because our car was working good, and we had everybody beat. And then Rick Wilson blew one of them other tires out and put the car in the wall. We had a caution flag, and then on the restart, I think there was 3 or 4 laps left. Mm-hmm. And Bobby and Baker got a jump on the restart. NASCAR didn't control them restarts in those days. Way over in the 3rd turn. And, they come flying by me. I didn't pit. They had brand new tires on. So I guess I ended up 3rd.
I remember being so excited for you that day. I thought, well, all right, Dave's going to win. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, things happen. I guess it's called shit happens.
Well, in racing, yeah.
Yeah.
In '90, you got hurt in the Big Apple car when Darrell wrecked.
Yeah.
That had to be another major setback because
it was, because had a broken leg.
Because you really weren't hurt in a race car other than that time, if I'm not mistaken, right? To all that bad to where you had to.
Well, the only other time I got hurt was in one of them all-star races that we had at Atlanta, and I actually had Phil Bartol's car there that day.
Okay.
Tim Richmond blew an engine, and I got in that oil.
Yes.
And wrecked, and was in a wreck. I got hurt a little bit in that car, but other than that, no. Just the Atlanta time. What was that, Atlanta? I don't remember what caused that wreck, but I had the ABC camera in my car, and it got in my right rear shoulder blade and tore my scapula loose from my rib cage.
Oh.
So, but I didn't miss a race. I got to start those races. And again, I had Jim Sauter with the knee deal start the race for me, and then when there was a caution, I got in the cars and finished the race.
So then, 92, I believe Big Apple was not on the car 93, I believe, right? 93, I'm trying to think. Well, because you were one of the first to bring in a computer company, Prodigy.
Right.
There was nobody at the time.
Right. Dwayne, like my PR man, he came to me and wanted to help me get a sponsorship. And Dwayne was responsible for Prodigy ad. I think he knew Artie. He knew a little bit about the Lifebuoy ad. He got Realtree, Mr. Bill Jordan involved in the sport. So Dwayne stayed with me then till the end of my career. And ever since then, I always had an ad on my race car. And to be honest with you, since Dwayne came there in '93 till the end of my career, those were the only years probably in the sport that I've actually made some money, a profit. Up to that point, it was always scraping the bottom
Every
of the
week,
barrel to
yeah,
stay in business, week to week, race to race. I mean, it's just how it was.
Right. So, 2002, you say, okay, I'm going to run one more Daytona 500, and that's it. Was it just time? Was it like, I'm getting older, spent all this money, we're living in a... You hadn't built the house yet by then, had you? I believe.
Yeah, we built this house in... I bought this property in 87 or the middle of 87, and I started working on this house. Took 2.5 years to build it because I was trying to pay for it as we went, and we moved in it in the fall of 1990.
Oh, okay.
But things were getting tougher and tougher. I mean, Realtree was a great sponsor, but he couldn't afford $1 million sponsorship like the teams I was running against. And just about every team had airplanes. They were flying their crews back and forth. We were on the road driving. Kind of about a deal like Roger.
And around here, oh my God. All up and down these roads.
Them guys are at home getting a night's sleep, and we're on the damn road. We still got a day's driving yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of about a deal like with Roger when Roger decided to get out of the sport. You know, he said he was going to get back in it someday, but he just wasn't ready yet. But
right.
But I couldn't afford no airplane. I mean, that was completely out of the question.
Right.
So it was just getting tougher and tougher and harder. And I was starting to miss races and having to go home, and I wasn't accustomed to that either.
Those were the days of two-day qualifying. I know sometimes if you just stood on your time, you'd have made it.
Yep.
Then you almost have to go out the second day.
Right.
Now they don't.
You had to, you had to not give up. You had to keep trying.
Right.
So I mean, even Richard faced some difficult times back.
He missed races too.
It was tough. Yeah, damn tough.
Do you think the way you did it then would work today?
Well, there's a big question mark there. Number one, how could you afford to buy the car and the parts? If you could afford to buy the car and the parts, and you had that, and the people who work with you on the team, I don't know how you get paid today. So I don't know how much money you have coming in because I know nothing about the pay schedule. But as far as the equipment being equal and all, yeah, I'd probably be better off.
And you'd have had a charter.
Yeah, I should have, or I would have had that. But my equipment would have been as equal as everybody else's, so it'd be up to the driver's skill.
Yeah.
So I'd probably be in better shape than I ever was. But how do you know?
Right. How do you know?
I mean, all I'm saying, it was just getting tougher and tougher for me to make ends meet, to be competitive. I didn't, from day one, I didn't go there just to be in a NASCAR race. I went there to race, to try and win races. I love racing, and I don't give up.
Well, and like we had said earlier, Harry Hyde had said he'd be a champion if he wasn't so stubborn. But back then, stubborn wasn't necessarily a bad word. Now it is today.
Yeah.
But I think what he meant by that was you knew what you wanted, and you weren't going to deviate.
He was always happy with
Talk about stubborn, though, that guy.
Well, he was always happy with my driving. He was always happy if I asked him to do this or that, change stuff on the chassis. He was tickled to death if the car went faster on the stopwatch. That's all Harry was interested in, was that stopwatch. and I can tell you a little story. We are at Rockingham. There's probably two good ones. One's Rockingham, and we were practicing good, but I don't think we're going to win the pole. And they broke for lunch. Qualifying was right after lunch. And I went in the restaurant. Rockingham had the best restaurant on the circuit for good food. And I had a reputation of eating a lot.
Oh, I'm going to get to that.
So anyhow, we went in there and we ate lunch. And we came back out, and I walked in the garage by the race car, and Harry had the car up on jack stands. and had every damn spring off from under the car, the shocks off the car, the torsion bars out of the car. I'm like, what in the dickens are you doing? He said, I'm putting you a chassis set up under this car. You don't like the one we got. You said we couldn't win the pole. I said, it ain't that bad. I mean, changed 2 torsion bars, 2 rear springs, 4 shocks.
And it was leaf springs back then, too, wasn't it?
And he said, just trust me, you don't need to worry about it. He said, you can't throw this car out of this racetrack. And I'm like, oh, yeah? So anyhow, we were qualifying real late that day. So he had lots of time to work on the car. We were towards the end of the line. So when we went out and qualified, I was mad at him for changing all that he changed. And I said to myself, I'll show him that I can throw this damn car out of this racetrack. I drove that thing down into turn 1 and cut that steering wheel, and it turned, and I got back in that throttle, and we won the pole.
Wow.
And when I came back in the garage,
You can't be mad.
the whole news media was gathered around Harry Hyde, and here's what he was telling them. He said, I'm going to tell you what. He says, I cannot stand to watch that guy qualify anymore. He will scare the shit out of you. He said, I thought the throttle hung when he went down the end of turn 1.
Wow.
He was tickled to death, and he was telling that story to the news media.
Oh, my goodness.
That was Harry Hyde. And then the other one is Talladega. That pole, between the Woods brothers and Harry Hyde, either Pearson was on the pole or the K&K car, whoever was driving it.
That's true.
So David and I were like a tenth apart. And I didn't think that we could beat him because David was always good for another tenth when he qualified.
At least.
So I told Harry, in those days we had the 1-inch spoiler on the back. It was like nothing.
Right.
I told Harry, I said, if you take the spoiler off the car, I can win the pole. He says, you can't take the spoiler off the car. You can't make it around the racetrack. I said, I can. He said, you can't get off the 4th turn without hitting the wall. I said, yes, I can. I said, I've been working on that deal this morning, getting into the 3rd turn, getting the car down low, keeping the car extra low, away from the wall, and I believe I have enough room. I got it worked out. I done it. He didn't know I was doing it. Every time he put me on the track in the morning to practice. And I felt like I was far enough away from that wall, because that's where we touch the wall, usually qualifying. So he went to lunch when they shut the racetrack. He was upset with me. He was gone for about almost an hour. And when he come back, then it was to get the car through inspection and qualify. He walked up to me and poked me in the chest. And he said, I'm going to tell you something, Dave Marcus. I said, what's that? He said, I am taking the spoiler off that car for you. And he's poking me in the chest. But he said, I want to just let you know something. He said, Columbus didn't know where the hell he was going to land when he took off either. I said, okay. So
Message delivered.
Yeah. So I said, okay. So when I qualified, I won the pole.
Yes, you did.
And I did scrape the wall off turn 4.
But that's okay.
But it just barely hurt the decals. I mean, it didn't even dent the car. But,
small price to pay.
Yeah. And then it's another one of them deals. Like, he's like, the guy scares the hell out of you.
But he gets results.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of our great friends here at Stock Car Facts for your views, for your shares, for your comments, and for hitting that notification bell. Some have asked how they can get involved further, and we always say, please follow these links to partner up with us financially. When you do, we'll send you some really cool racing swag and souvenirs that we have accumulated over the years. Either way, thank you for your support, and we'll see you here on Tuesdays around noon. Thank you. Boy, what a big word. Except when you compare it to what you folks have done for this channel, to me, it pales in comparison. A like, a comment, a share, a subscription, even sending a few bucks. Trust me, we won't let you down. We really appreciate you reaching out and helping this channel. Thanks for watching. Having had the chance to run in Australia in 1988, Dave Marcus shares a hilarious story with his Australian counterparts that you'll hear about in part 5 next week. Have a listen.
And when I sent to the guys in Australia one day, I told them to go out to the truck with the cargo container.
Oh yeah.
And bring the torch because you need to do something with the cutting torch. And guess what he brought me back? A flashlight.